Hi, I'm Blessing Makosha Park, and this is the Blessing at the Bar series brought to you in collaboration with lawcareers.net. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the core subjects on the BPTC, specifically what core subjects you're going to have to study, and also how you're going to organize all of the papers and notes and things that are going to accumulate during the BPTC. If that sounds like something you're interested in, then keep on watching this video. Hi guys, this is Blessing with the Blessing at the Bar series brought to you by lawcareers.net. Don't forget, before we get started, to press that red button and subscribe to the lawcareers.net YouTube channel. And also head over to blessingatthebar.com and join my mailing list so that you get updated for every blog post. I post a new blog post every week. And I also have a Blessing at the Bar YouTube channel where I do Ask Blessing at the Bar live streams every Tuesday, where I answer all of your questions about becoming a barrister. The first core subjects are going to be your advocacy subject. So that is cross-examination, examination in chief, and addressing the court. Those subjects are all examined with an actual recorded advocacy performance. You will do that with witnesses, will come in and there will be actors and they will be your witnesses, and you will essentially work with them. With your addressing the court, if you do the civil advocacy exam, it's going to be different. You're going to be doing a single judge application. So that's where it would be just you and a judge, likely one of your tutors. It just shows you the different range of advocacy, and it's not so simple as splitting it into civil and crime, because as you can see, cross-examination and examination in chief are things that you can do in either civil or criminal work. The next is the first of the knowledge subjects. So these are the mandatory centrally assessed knowledge subjects that the Bar Standards Board, or BSB, requires you to complete, and that's civil litigation and evidence. So these are all of the rules and procedures for civil litigation, and you should be aware of the difference between civil litigation and criminal litigation at this stage. But if you're not, civil litigation is litigation to do with people, so that's breach of contract, different sorts of civil disputes that you have with people, whereas criminal litigation is where you have breached a law and you're being prosecuted by the state. So that's the difference between civil work and criminal work. The civil litigation module is going to be a big module, and it's assessed with a big exam, a 3-hour central assessment that is set by the BSB, and it's something called a single best answer assessment. So essentially you'll have what looks like multiple choice, and you will pick the one best answer out of the 4 or so options that you'll be given. It's tricky, but with good study over the year and good revision and practice, you can get through it. I mentioned civil, I'll mention civil's cousin, criminal. So criminal litigation and evidence, again, as all of the rules and procedure for criminal litigation, and also all of the rules on criminal evidence. There are very specific rules on criminal evidence. As you can imagine, it's very important that there are clear-cut rules on what is evidence or what isn't admissible evidence. And that really goes down to the whole right to a fair trial, which we've enshrined in our legal jurisdiction. So if you think about criminal litigation and civil litigation are essentially the rules of play and fairness, but there are guiding principles in civil litigation that don't necessarily guide in exactly the same way in criminal. So be aware of the slight differences between the two. But ultimately, criminal's got another one of those big exams, a 3-hour central assessment by the Bar Standards Board. Following up from civil and criminal litigation and evidence is resolution of disputes outside of court, or ADR, alternative dispute resolution. Now this is sort of built into civil litigation. You'll learn the guiding principles of the CPR, those are the civil procedural rules, but essentially ADR, alternative dispute resolution, exists to provide an alternative to litigation. At all points during civil litigation or civil disputes, parties are encouraged, although not forced, to pursue alternative dispute resolution, and they can actually find themselves finding quite a lot of favor from the court if they do pursue alternative dispute resolution and they do give it a real proper go. Similarly, they can find themselves penalized if they unreasonably refuse to engage with it. So it's an important area. It fits into your civil procedure knowledge, and it's something essential that will feed into all of your other subjects that we will cover. Next up is professional ethics. Ethics is notorious, and I'm also not completely sure if ethics is actually going to remain on the syllabus. But for now, I think it's there, so we'll cover it. Ethics are those rules that govern barristers' conduct. There is a Bar Standards Board Code of Conduct, and there are 10 core duties that apply to barristers and also apply to pupil barristers and also apply to student barristers. So the bar is a regulated profession. So the principle of ethics is to provide essentially all of the ethical codes that barristers should adhere to as they do their work and go about their lives as well. It's encompassing of all of the different areas of a barrister's life, including when you're not necessarily working for clients. So ethics is a big subject. It bleeds through everything. It's a notoriously tricky exam, but it is an exam. It's assessed with a paper, and that is also a centrally assessed BSB paper that occurs at the same time as the other two central assessments. Next, you have the skills subjects. Again, these are the written skills subjects. So that is drafting and that is opinion writing. Drafting and opinion writing are slightly different, and they are assessed independently. So the actual BPTC centers themselves will have their own way that they do these exams. Ultimately, what drafting is drafting pretty much all of the documents that a barrister would need to create. So that can be everything from a witness statement to a particulars of claim to a defense. So if you think about when you bring a civil claim, you will write out what your claim is for the judge and for the other party. So everybody knows what it is that you're claiming. That's called a particulars of claim. It's the particular aspects of your claim. Then you also have a defense. So if somebody has served a particulars of claim on you, then your defense is going to be your defense to the particulars of claim. It is stylized. There's highly stylized. There are ways that you're supposed to do it, and you will be assessed with that. Like I mentioned, each center does it its own way, but expect something along the lines of an unseen set of papers. You will be given legal research to conduct beforehand. So when you go into the exam, you sit either at a computer, or if you're writing it, you also can write it, and you write out a draft document of whatever type of document you've been asked to draft. So be ready for that. It's a different type of subject. It's a written one. It's different to anything you've ever done before. Opinion writing skills is where you write an advisory opinion for a professional client. So a solicitor will give you an instruction, and oftentimes they will ask the barrister to give an advisory note of what they think the prospects of success of the claim are, where they think the possible heads of loss are, what do they think a claim could be brought on, do they think that the evidence is sufficient. So they're asking for the barrister's opinion. So opinion writing is how you draft an opinion for a professional client, such as a solicitor. That leaves us with conference skills. It's a straightforward assessment. You have a conference with a client. Again, this is one that is independently conducted. So each law school will conduct conference in different ways, but expect a recorded style assessments similar to your advocacy assessments. It'll be slightly longer because it's a conference, but that's the kind of way that conference is assessed. Now we'll get into how I actually went about organizing my notes and folders for each of the different subjects. I'll start by saying Snigda's blog post on organizing for the BPTC saved my life, and I'm going to be linking to that post in the description of this video, so check that out. So for advocacy, I had one big lever arch folder, which I split into 3 sections for cross-examination, examination in chief, and examining the cause. Then what I did was create tabs based on the case paper name, and I put all of the relevant case papers within that specific tab, along with my notes for class, and very important here, my feedback. Remember also, because your exams for advocacy are going to be recorded, throughout the year, your advocacy performances in class are going to be recorded, likely on a USB stick, which you'll use for revision. Please, I beg you, do not do what I did and forget to back up your advocacy performances, because I forgot to back up mine, lost my USB stick over Christmas.
Stupid.
And luckily, I had all of my feedback written down, which I kept in my folder, but had I not done that, I would have had nothing for the first term. Not great. So remember that part about advocacy as well, and incorporate that into how you stay organized. Try and create a Google Drive or any sort of cloud-based storage which replicates your folders, and have electronic copies of everything. So whether that's after class, you scan your notes or you scan whatever and you upload it onto your Google Drive, but do not have things that aren't backed up. You will regret this. And this is a BPTC. They don't care if your laptop failed and you weren't able to access anything. That's literally not a reason for not being able to complete an assessment or hand in for a deadline. And that includes for feedback hand-ins as well. My laptop crashed or I wasn't able to access it isn't gonna save you now. So make sure everything is backed up and accessible remotely. Keep your case papers in plastic wallets. So where I put my case papers into my different tabs, I kept them all in plastic wallets. And this was because you're often going to use the same case papers for different types of subjects. For example, you may use case papers in your civil advocacy that you will then again use in your drafting or your opinion writing. So keep them in a folder. Keep a folder with punched holes, and then you can move it between your different folders as you need. That's what I did, and it worked great. File things as soon as you get them, especially if it's additions to case papers you already have, because you're going to need them, and when you can't find them, it's going to be stressful as anything. For civil litigation and evidence, I had one lever arch folder which I had numbered tabs in based on the different syllabus subjects that we covered for civil. What I tried to do was to organize the syllabus topics thematically, and inside of there I kept a checklist of all of the specific syllabus items that I had to know, and when I covered it during my reading or during lectures or class, I would tick off or cross off that CPR or part of the CPR until at the end, within all of my civil advocacy tabs, I had crossed off everything. So I knew when it came to revising, I had taken those notes, I had covered that CPR. I actually went a step further and I created an Excel spreadsheet. And what I had on this Excel spreadsheet was those syllabus subjects again, and I color coded them based on whether I had done the notes, made flashcards, practiced questions, and was confident with the subject. Where all of these things had been ticked off and done, I marked it green. I had a traffic light system, and that's how I, alongside my folder, made sure that I was making my way through the CPR all year. I did the exact same thing that I did for civil, for criminal, litigation and evidence, and I had the same Excel spreadsheet, so there's not much difference I have to say about those ones. For ADR, I had one small folder similarly to my civil and criminal. I kept the folder organized by syllabus topics, and I kept my notes in there and the checklist that I ticked off, and I also had an Excel spreadsheet to accompany it. For drafting, things were a bit different here because this was a skills subject. I had a similar format in a lever arch folder as I did for my advocacy, and I kept my case papers in there. And I also kept my own drafts that I had produced and annotated with feedback, the sample draft that was given to us during class, and the mark schemes given us given to us during class, and I made sure I filed all of those straight away because I would have been lost within a sea of paper had I not done that immediately. I kept 2 tabs free in my drafting folder for practice papers and also for feedback. For opinion writing, I had the exact same setup as my drafting. I organized it by case papers with the 2 free tabs for practice papers and feedback as well. Finally, for professional ethics and conference, I actually put these 2 together because I was able to. I had paper to save. So I had one small folder. One side of the tab was for ethics, the other side was for conference, and I organized them all in one folder. Because I did ethics before conference, I took all the ethics stuff out and I had a single conference folder, again organized by case papers with 2 free tabs for feedback and practice papers or practice notes and things that we got from lectures. So finally, all that's left for me to tell you is that there's links to resources and further things that I used in the description box below. And that's it from me for this edition of Blessing at the Bar, the monthly series in collaboration with lawcareers.net. Don't forget to subscribe to the lawcareers.net YouTube channel if you haven't already, and also to make sure that you check out blessingatthebar.com, sign up to the mailing list. There's a new blog post up every week, and there's also a weekly live stream on Tuesdays at 7 where I answer your questions about being a barrister or becoming a barrister on the Blessing at the Bar YouTube channel. So that's it from me, guys. Peace out, and I'll see you next month for the next video. Bye.